Oh my God. Are you kidding me? I was doing all that talking with a no, my mic still muted. Well, anyway, a whole bunch of nonsense. But what I basically wanted to say is that we have a great panel here. You can see them on the screen now. I'm going to have them introduce themselves one by one so that they can, let you know a little bit about who they are as a person, and then we'll get into our discussion. I'm also going to be taking. I know something's wrong with me, and I'm going to be taking questions from you guys in a little bit. Okay. So I introduced the process. If you've been on the shows before, you already know. Put your question in and wait for us to ask it. Okay. So don't keep typing it over and over until I say, okay, we missed it or whatever. And then we type it again. So let's start with Shenoa with her lovely head wrap. And then Chanel will talk. And then Ginger. Okay. So go ahead, Miss Thing. The mic is yours.
Greetings. My name is Shanoa, and I'm 41 years old, and I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I am actually retired military. I did over 20 years in the Air Force. My primary career was I was a cop. So I was in security forces, I was a cop. And then I
Oh,
finished
no.
off my career kind of in social services as a caseworker.
Oh,
So that
okay.
was pretty
Working with
much
children or adults?
actually both. My primary responsibility as a caseworker was working with deployed members and their families, so keeping the families connected to the military side of the house. When the member deployed, the family usually got disconnected from the military community, so I was that bridge gap for them.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, Chanel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Chanel. I'm 37. I'm single, never married, no children. I grew up in Maryland. I'm the oldest of three. And as soon as I could escape my situation, I went to college. I'm now working as a software tester, living in Florida. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you for volunteering. Okay, Shenwa, they're saying that the sound on your mic is very low, so she can work on that. Okay, let's get Ginger.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully my mic sounds good. Um, all right, so I grew up in a two-parent home in a small town in Southwest Virginia. I have notes so I don't get off track here. I turned I turned 44 last month. I'm single. I don't have any kids. I'm a homeowner. I'm well established in my career. I work in the medical field, like a non-clinical job, medical coding. Um, I have several fitness certifications. I taught Group X for about 10 years, and I've been married twice in my 20s. And by 30, I was divorced, and I've been single ever since.
And just so everybody knows, I asked, Ginger, I've included her in this panel because she's going to be able to provide both perspectives. And that, she was single and she was divorced and she was married. So she can, talk on all aspects. So I thought it would be a good way to round out the panel. So let's start, ladies. I guess we'll start with you, Ginger, since your mic is hot.
Okay.
Let's begin by, talking about what made you decide that marriage and children was not for you.
Hmm. Well, far as marriage at this point in my life, it's just nothing that it can bring to me. There's no point. I mean, I'm successful, own my own home. I have dated in my 30s using dating apps. Stay away from those, ladies. There's just nobody out there for me to marry. I haven't met that man. So I just rather be on my own. Um, I think I would have had children when I was married if I had, had a better mate, better husband. Something about when I was in that marriage, both of them, I didn't feel comfortable having children because I was carrying the financial burden. And I was also, here we go, helping a man. I was helping both of my husbands get going in their careers. So it was so much on my shoulders, I didn't feel comfortable having children. And I don't think I've ever wanted to be like a single mom by myself. Like, I know you can adopt, you can do IVF. I've never wanted to do that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So your inner voice was telling you, oh, no,
Yeah, I stopped
don't do it.
somewhere.
Don't do it. Okay. Let me get you, Chanel. Oh, let me see. Let me unmute you. Okay. There you go.
What was the question, Miss Deborah?
I'm asking, what was the deciding point, or what happened that made you decide that children and marriage were probably not the path you wanted to go on?
So for me, I think when I was younger, I would possibly have considered it had I found a husband. Like for me, I did not want to be a single mother. So, having children without having a husband and that helper, just a parent at the same place, same time, same values was important to me. But because I have not found someone who kind of shared those values, I put children on the back burner. I would have at one point have liked to been married, and it's something that I still may consider. It's just so difficult to find a partner, and I find that I can do bad by myself. I don't think that this is something that's just me. I think this is women worldwide. In my circle of women, most of these women have it going on in one way, shape, or form. And it's obvious to anyone who interacts with them that that is the case for them. But we are just not finding mates that we feel are worthy of our time, that investment. Most of the guys that we meet, they need help. And right or wrong, I feel like if you are at the top of the food chain in society and you have to reach down for my help, you can't be for me. So not only that, but I just have some great men that have been in my life as far as like family members. And when someone has set the bar at a certain level for you, it's difficult for you to accept anything other than, what you have seen and what your standard is at that point. So, for me, it's just hard to find a good man.
Okay. Okay. Shanoa. Oh, you have to unmute there you go.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
A little bit.
Let me
I
try
think
to.
you just have a very soft voice.
I do, so I'll try to talk louder. So for me,
No, pretend like you still in the Air Force.
so for me, I went through many cycles in my life about wanting children and being married or not. It just went up and down. So it started in childhood. In childhood, I wanted to get married and I wanted to have children, like probably most people. But then challenges in my family, I went through some issues with my parents. My parents are married and I was raised in a two-family household. My mom pretty much was a stay-at-home mom. And but my dad kind of had the mentality of cheaper to keep her, if you understand what that means. So I experienced that, and the effects of that and effects of my father's adultery. So then, and being parentification was forced on me for my eldest niece and nephew. So once I hit teenage years in my early 20s, I was like, no, marriage and children just probably won't be for me. And I was raised in a very religious family where they had very traditional, very outdated roles. And I noticed that the women were full-time workers just as much as the men, but they were still expected to do almost 85% of the work. They work just as much and more than the spouses because women traditionally were in services roles, nurses, teachers, things like that. So we would tend to work longer hours, but still expected to come home, cook, clean, take care of the kids, and do everything else, where the husband only pretty much took out the trash or did yard work. And
Right.
so I
Once
noticed,
a week.
yes, and I noticed the imbalance with that, and I'm like, that's just an imbalance. And I noticed the stress, and then in just looking at my family, being honest, there are very little examples of good marriages in my family. So it wasn't modeled for me. It was a lot of bad stuff, and I learned the things that I didn't want. So going into my 20s, that was my mentality. And then as I was getting older, I was like, I might want to get married and have kids. It just it was appealing to me because I was older, I was more mature, and I said once I got 25 and older, if it was a possibility, then wouldn't mind getting married and having children over 25, because then I will be financially stable. I would finish with my education, and my spouse hopefully would be mature enough to handle those kind of responsibilities. But one of the things that was important to me was, as the mom, I'm responsible for selecting my children's father, my
Right.
husband. And I don't want my children to ever come to me and say, Mama, why did you pick him? And looking at me like I'm boo boo the fool because I picked because I picked this for their father. What was
Oh,
I thinking? Why wasn't I, being
yeah,
more
Mama, what was
selective?
you smoking?
So those were the things that were on my mind when I was coming up with this. And I noticed that unfortunately there's a lot of adult males, but not a lot of men. And
Ooh, girl, testify.
I have models of men. It's not a whole lot, but I do have a model of a man. And once you know what a man look like, smell like, feel like, act like, sound like, a man, I can't accept an adult male, because a man, he doesn't even have to explain himself as a man. And naturally, I will be just a woman with him because he is being a man. And it's just, yeah. So my military career, I said if I chose to do it to retirement, I will not get married while I'm in the military, because to be that wife and that mother that I know to my standard, the military would take a second seat. And so many divorces and so many children just being pulled back and forth, and just the military life is completely unstable based on my standards. So I said if it does come up, it'll have to be once I retire. But I retired in 2019, and the choices for spouses and good fathers, I know they are out there. However, I haven't really ran into them. And so I am still a single woman with no children.
Gotcha. Well, the next thing I wanted to ask you, ladies, is in your life as you've been, dating, and I guess you could talk about your family too. Have you had any pressure as an adult to have a baby, whether you were married or not? Let's start with you, Chanel.
Well, I come from a family full of women. So whenever I go home to Maryland, I have some aunts and they're kind of shady, but I know it for them, it comes from a loving place. They come from a time where, I'm sure there was a lot of social pressure to couple up and stuff, but then also they just fear my being alone. They don't, want me to be kind of like what they call a leftover woman in some
Mm-hmm.
countries. They don't want me to have to, look one way or the other and not have anyone there to support me. And I don't think that they can kind of fathom the fact that, you can have people around you who love you and who will show up for you that, you might not be related to by blood or even married. So as far as like my dad, he doesn't ask me about it. If anything, he is more concerned about the fact that, men nowadays aren't really looking for, as my dad said, more than some booty. And, he doesn't want me to become a victim. My grandfather is the same way. His daughter is 65. She's never been married. She's never really dated. And when I asked her about it, she told me that she has never found a man who is like her father. Right. So she doesn't, want to give anyone else a chance. So that's the kind of pressure that I guess I experience. I don't really have people in the street who would dare say anything to me sideways. I don't have too much experiences with that, being shamed by outside sources for being single, but I've definitely had aunts say, so you're never going to have children. And they don't say anything about a husband. They mostly ask about the children.
Right.
And, I told them, and, I'm very careful with the words that I use, but I want to be able to voice that, you can be a woman that's successful in society, and, you can be single without being alone or feeling lonely, because I really think there's a gap for them. Like, they don't understand, they probably don't even know what I do with my life without a man or children. It's just like this uncharted territory for them. But at the same time, they look at me and tell me that they're proud of me, right? They understand, because some of their girlfriends are single, some of their siblings, sisters are single, and everybody, in all of those areas are saying the same things. Where are the men who are serious about relationship, who value, long-term relationships, marriage, and things like that? So they don't want me to settle and make a poor choice, but at the same time, they still have, asked those questions.
Okay. What about you, Ginger? Especially since you've been married before. I was wondering what kind of pressure they put on you to have kids, whether you were still married or not.
Well, I think, my parents knew we were struggling financially. I mean, there was the expectation that we were going to have kids one day, but again, they knew that struggle. Like, okay, I'm the one holding this household up. I mean, in my first marriage, I even had a home, and I was outside doing the yard work. I couldn't even get help with that, so I was, doing that part. So I didn't need him at all, actually.
Wow. I was just thinking, I was like, okay,
Trimming hedges and mowing the yard. So yeah, I think they expected, eventually we would have children. But I will say, I have a younger brother. He's about 6 years younger than me. He has 3 children with his ex-wife. So, I mean, I think my parents are satisfied as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I will mention, if that's pertinent, my brother is divorced, and my parents actually divorced last year. So we're all divorced people, so none of us really have had healthy relationships.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, I will say, kind of like what Chanel was saying, people, they think every decision a woman makes has something to do with pursuit of marriage or children. Now, I just moved to a new city in the past year and a half. So we're in 2021. People still say that, several people said to me, are you moving because you want to get married? You want to find a husband? I said, I'm getting a bigger home. Oh, so you're preparing for a family. That's why you're getting a bigger house. Even I had a friend, I said, I'm learning, I'm trying to learn Spanish with this language app. Oh, you're trying to get a Spanish speaking man? I mean, I don't understand. Why can't a woman just be doing something for herself?
Yeah, they even say that if you wear makeup, oh, you being,
Yes.
a lot of men don't like makeup. I don't care. What's that got to do with me? Girl, okay, come on over here, Shanoa, your turn.
Okay, so I actually experienced that in my early 20s. It was on the women in the family. It started with the women in my family. My sister, my mom, my grandma, my aunts, cousins. So when you gonna have kids? And I was like, when I get married. And then, well, you don't have to be married to have kids. No, you don't have to be married to have kids. I have to be married to have kids, because I'm not trying to be a single mama. I'm not trying to be on struggle street, because no, I'm not going to put my kids in survival mode at the gate. And then as I started getting into my mid-20s, my dad started asking me, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of strange. And so they kept making the comments. And so, I said, Daddy, you got 12 kids. Why do I need to have kids? They already have grandkids for you. So, but their mentality is, you're not a real woman or fulfilled your role as a woman until you have children. Oh, you don't know the joys of life until you have children. And I asked them, what joys of life have you experienced? Because all I see is your struggle. When my sister was saying that to
jokes.
me, I do. And when my sister, and I love my sister dearly, even when she was saying that to me, I was like, I'm financially supporting you and your kids. You are in a struggle and I'm helping you. Why would I do that to myself? Does misery enjoy company? Are y'all trying to put me in the same misery with
Absolutely.
you all? And now, don't get me wrong. I love my nieces and nephews. I enjoy all of them, and my great nephews, because they're all boys. However, I also understand the responsibility and the burden, and it is a burden, if not done correctly, that can be placed on you with children, especially if you're not ready for them, if you don't really want them, if you've selected a poor spouse and they don't have that good of a family. There's so many things that go along with it. And so many people would make snide comments to me about my career choices, being in the military. And then, because of my education, my highest level of education right now is a master's degree. And so they would, make snide remarks about that, oh, what you gonna do with that degree, blah blah blah, making it seem like it was a bad thing. But also on the flip side, there's a lot of envy that I notice coming from them because I am single and don't have children. Oh, well, then you get all this money so you can help people. No, I don't have burdens of children that are expensive. Oh, you got all this time on your hands, so you should do this and that, and you should help. I mean, I can help, but don't have this expectation and demand on me that because I'm a woman and I'm single, that I should also be, surrogate mothers for all of you who had these children when you probably wasn't properly prepared for it. So
Please.
so there's still, now that I'm at this age, and as my responses get very strong, I'm sure you can see by my colorful comments, they stopped.
Yeah, I know they would have been shut down for me. It's like, look, nobody told you to lay up there and make all them damn babies. You want some money, you better go see their daddy. Was I there? I don't have nothing to do with that. I will give them a birthday present and a Christmas present and a graduation present if I feel like it. Other than that, leave me alone. Well, we got a survey too, ladies who are listening, and you guys can respond to it too, because I'm going to keep it open for about a week. Shay has the link, and it's a survey on your thoughts on being a mom. So you can click that link. She'll put it in the chat stream. You can click that link and fill it out. It's just multiple choice, just matter of clicking a button and you're done. Probably take 15 seconds. But I want to kind of get a consensus of you today while we're in this chat stream of where you are on the spectrum of having a children or not, and what you think about that whole thing. So there we go. Jay's put it in the chat room. So just copy that and paste it into your browser. Okay. I wanted to take a moment and read you guys a couple of stories that I collected from the internet about people who had children. And okay, this woman says, I hate being a mom. She says, I hate it. I'm painfully jealous of child-free women because of your freedom and your money and your vacations and clean houses. Not me. I'm a fucking mommy. When I was a kid, I never played with dolls. I played with toy kitchens and toy food. I was making breakfast for the family. I'm the only girl with 7 brothers when I was 8. You're going to make such a good breakfast for your kids someday, everyone said. But I knew I was never going to have kids or a husband. I was going to cook in fancy restaurants and then go out with my single friends after work and stay out till 2 a.m. My career ambitions were set in the 3rd grade. When I turned 18, I was thrown out of the house for being an alcoholic. I cared about cooking, drinking, and getting high, not much else. I lived in out motels and cheap apartments and rented trailers. I worked 2 jobs most of the time and did catering when I had time off. I went to trade school and got degrees in culinary arts, baking and pastry and mixology. But I did tons of drugs and drank too much. Sometimes I didn't make it home for days. I didn't want kids, so I had an IUD because, hey, sometimes shit happens. But then one day shit did happen. I had been feeling terrible, so I got a pregnancy test and it was positive. The death knell of a child-free woman. So she had to get it removed before they gave her an ultrasound. And she says, I'm rabidly anti-abortion. I don't judge others, but just for myself. And while everyone told me to abort, I just couldn't do it. So I went on methadone. I stopped drinking and I worked, delivered my daughter and went back to work when she was a month old. And so, she tells this whole story, but she basically ended up giving the daughter to her parents to raise, and then somehow she had a second baby, and but she gave that one away for adoption. So with she says the little girl's temper tantrum. She doesn't listen. She want to watch TV and eat junk food all day, and she's 5, and she can't give her back. She says I should have gotten a tube of ligation for a 21st birthday present. And then here's a guy, and he says he's 26, and he says, I'm having a child with my ex-girlfriend. There's no sugarcoating it. She's pregnant right now. I in no way want to be a father. At least she's agreed to have full custody. I'll just be paying a bill for the next 18 years on, depending if the kid is mentally ill, like both of us. Then I could be stuck paying for an adult child till they're 25, at least here in Pennsylvania. Whatever the case, call me a psychopath. I don't want nothing to do with this kid. My partner pressured me into going raw and also did me in my sleep, and I regret never ever giving in. I should have ended it on the spot. I feel bad for this kid if it's born, because I can assure you it will never have a biological father in its life. I just can't do it. I can do child support, but only financially. I'm getting snipped ASAP and not have it anymore. I feel bad for my son or daughter to be that they are conceived, but I won't be there. I plan to move as far away from possible, pay the child support payments, and live a solo life working in IT. All I want at this point is just to be financially stable and wait for my baby mama, who quite frequently isn't a nice person. She'll get her legally entitled money, and that's it. I'll fulfill my financial obligations, but I'm in no way taking custody or asking for visitation. She wants full custody. She can have it. I don't want anything to do with children or her. I have dozens of these stories, but let me get back to my crew over here. Yeah, there you guys are. Can you believe those stories? I mean, the drama, and this stack here, it's full of those kind of stories of people who had kids and then realized after that they didn't want them. I just couldn't believe it. Anybody got a comment? Oh, feel free. You can open your mics up.
So I'm the product of a woman who should never have had children. I'm the product of a woman who told all of her children that she should have aborted them. I'm the product of a woman who abandoned her children as soon as she could. So, I struggled a lot in college, and I was on my own just because, of that situation with her. But then you may be thinking, well, where was her father? My entire life, my father was he had an addiction. So he wasn't there to kind of add that balance. However, I think when little girls are just told that they will be mothers, I don't think that we give the message to little girls that this is a choice. This is not something that you have to do. It's something that you can choose to do if you find a partner worth doing it with. And I know there are a lot of super women out there who, can take on, being a single mother. I know some of the ladies talked about possibly adoption or fostering, and that's something that I consider in the past. But then I thought I would still be a single mom. I would still have all of this responsibility, and it's just more than what I know that I can bear. So, in lieu of that, I give back to the world in different ways, and most of all, I give back to myself. So the best thing that I can do is care for myself, and talk to other women and let them know these are the things that you can choose to do, right? And just when I am asked, just sharing my own experiences with women so that they understand, a child can feel when they are unwanted, unloved, when they grow up in an unhappy place, and they may, like me, be plotting an escape plan.
Right. What do you guys think about women who know they're in a bad situation and they're in a shaky relationship, they don't have no money, they're too young or whatever, and they opt to have a child instead of terminating the pregnancy? Have you ever run into anybody like that? Did anyone in your family, friend group, coworker, neighbor? What do you think? And anybody can answer.
Well,
Let's not answer at once.
I experienced that actually quite a bit with family and friends. And there were many young ladies who terminated the pregnancy, and there were some who continued with the pregnancy. And I myself, I would never have an abortion, which is why I do preventative measures, because there are ways to prevent. And there's responsible sex that people aren't really taught, I guess. But I didn't look at them sideways or judgmental, because at the end of the day, the choice has to be theirs. But I also look at them as, you made this choice, so now you have to grow up, take responsibility and accountability, and do what you need to do to take care of yourself and this child that you chose to have. But I don't like it when they have this mentality where you have to help me, because no one actually has to help them. I believe families should help them, because at the end of the day, the child will suffer. So, but that's just my personal opinion.
Right.
You don't want children to suffer needlessly, because they already coming into this world with strikes against them because they're unwanted. The mother isn't prepared. She doesn't have the finances. So if families can rally around and help, not enable negative behaviors, but still help the child, there's a fine line between it. So I try not to tell them, no, you should have an abortion, or no, you should give the child up. But I try to encourage them, hey, now you know this is going on. You got 9 months to prepare this world and yourself to get ready for this child. Or, what is it that you can be doing to help this child? Because if you don't want to work, but you want to stay at home, okay, so how are you going to support this child? And helping them to figure those things out. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna be honest, I think if I were to have kids, I would be a stay-at-home mom. My kids will get homeschooled. There are things that I personally believe are better for children, especially melanated children, Black children, where the mom needs to have a more stronger presence in their life.
I
So,
agree. Yeah.
but yes, and so my thing is, that whole sentiment, it takes a village to raise a family. And when these young girls start having children like that, I'm not saying that the family should take responsibility and help them, but I don't think they should abandon them, because those children need. So that's my stance on it.
Okay. What about you, Ginger and Chanel? You know anybody who, didn't want to get abortion or any kind of pressure like that?
I definitely know people in my family who have been there and had the child. And I feel after having watched and witnessed this woman parenting this child, I felt like this child does not have a chance. And that probably sounds horrible to say, but 10 years later, the child has tried to commit suicide. He's only 13. He has been institutionalized. And he has behavioral issues, and he was such a bright little baby. But when you have parents who would rather be you know a child themselves than dedicate themselves to their child, these kind of things happen. When you put your child in a room and allow the TV to raise your child rather while you entertain men, these are the things that happen. And I think it's incredibly selfish. And it's hard for me to understand that these people don't see that what they're doing is wrong. But again, maybe these people have also experienced neglect. I think a lot of times people underestimate the things that children see and understand. And so they feel like, it's not going to affect the child having gone through these things, which to them may amount to nothing. But for anyone else who can see, it's neglect. So quite frankly, I'm 100% on board with the woman's right to choose. I think women need the option to make the best decision for themselves at that time. I just think more women need to be empowered to make those choices that can make their long-term outcomes better.
I totally agree. Where are you, Ginger, on that path?
Um, I guess this is somewhat related. The only thing personally I can think about is that my brother, he's 6 years younger than me. Now, him and his ex-wife, they had 3 kids, and um, they were not a good match. I mean, she was, she's violent, and they argued, but they struggled after the first one. My parents stepped in and did a lot. My parents still do a lot to this day. So I think my brother and her felt like, well, we'll just keep having kids because my parents stepped in and
Right.
did all the work. So, you know, I mean, I understand one, have accident, okay, one baby, but they just kept going. And I think that is because they knew the parents were going to step in, not like how you tell your daughter, Miss Deb, that you're not
No.
going to step in.
And she started getting that message at 11, 12 years old. I'm like, don't even think about it.
Yeah, and to this day, there's still a lot of arguing between the two of them, my brother and his ex-wife, and the children suffer, and they're in the middle of that. Plus, there's issues with my parents not getting along with the ex-wife. So it's a lot of drama, a lot of conflict. I don't know how the kids are going to end up.
Wow. So she never considered termination, to your knowledge?
One, they actually had 4, terminated
Oh, I
one.
see.
Yeah,
But
because
still
they thought they were
3.
going to split up. Yeah.
Okay. I want to share my screen and show you guys some. Let's see. Let me find it here. Here we go. This right here. This is how I feel about people who, those pro-lifers. I always said, they're like not really pro-life, they're pro-birth. They want the kids to get here, but if you notice, a lot of these same people are the ones who are against the social programs and support systems that would help a single mother to take care of the child, or a single father, just a single parent, period. So notice this is against this representation of the hypocrisy. Oh, everybody's smiling. They all against abortion. You ask them, well, who's going to take care of the kid? Everybody quiet as a church house mouse. And this graphic shows, look at this poor woman. She over here screaming kids, trying to do some
Miss
work.
Deb, we can't see your graphics.
Oh, you can't? Uh-oh. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, how am I going to do this? Hold on as I click around trying to figure out how to do this.
We can still see you.
Yeah, I see me too, but I want to see this. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. There we go. I told you I'm a novice. Okay, let me go back to the beginning. Okay, this is what I thought I was showing you guys. I'm hoping everybody can see this now, where I was talking about the pro-birthers. They all fight women against getting an abortion, but by the same token, they fight against social programs like, AFDC, through their child supporting, medical care for children, daycare support so the women can get back in the workforce, educational things. So they want everybody to be in debt up to their ears to try to go back to school. So it's like, on one hand, they set you up to have a kid, but then they don't really want to help you with the child. So I think more women need to start thinking more, as was stated, thinking about more about themselves, like Chanel said. And this is the image I was on, where it's showing the woman with the two young children, just stressed out, trying to work. And the single woman just like, enjoying a nice afternoon in the park, relaxing, So she's a more mature lady. You can see they're indicating that she's got, a little aging on her face and some slightly gray hair. But, having been child free, she has to maintain her figure and she's just not, she's just unbothered. And I think a lot of women don't understand that. They choose side B instead of side A. And then this one here, this is like, just another depiction of how they're pro-life. The pro-lifers are actually pro-birth. We'll do whatever we can to protect your life, you young fetus. And then here they go, get a job, moocher. I hope your tramp mom doesn't want food stamps to feed you or medical insurance. And now you're on your own. And she's sitting there with this baby like, but you said you would help me with it. And, and the situation doesn't really change necessarily for if you're married, because, you're looking at marriage rates. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But this chart shows some of the reasons why African Americans have such a high marriage failure rate. And these are signs of what they called in this study. I put the little graphic there on the side, what they call the signs of happiness in marriage. And as you see, the numbers are greatly skewed in the negative on the African American side, sometimes 2-1. So it really becomes a question: are Black women's lives going to be more stable, even if they have children, even if they're married, with the marriages dissolving due to these little silly reasons like this? But I mean, these things all indicate that the marriage is not a happy one, and it, piled on together, it will lead to divorce. Okay. So I just wanted to, show you guys that. Let me see. Let me get back to my thing. Isn't that amazing? I just don't know. I see Ginger can talk about it because she was there and she knows firsthand that, just because you married, that don't mean nothing, really. Another thing I want to tell you, go over with you guys is, okay, we're talking about the women getting into a situation where they have these kids and they don't really have any way to take care of them. In 2008, Nebraska decriminalized child abandonment. It was part of this. They have these safe haven laws where you're supposed to be able to bring infants. But the only thing is they didn't put an age on the law. So they had people coming from other states to drop off their teenagers in Nebraska. And they had people bringing in like 10, 12, 15, 16-year-olds and dumping them and driving off. They were done. And I thought it was a couple of months in, 36 children had been left in state hospitals and at police stations. 22 of them were over 13. A 51-year-old grandmother dropped off a 12-year-old. One father dropped off his entire family, 9 children from the ages of 1 to 17. Other people drove from neighboring states to drop off their children once they heard they could abandon them without repercussion. Isn't that some sick stuff? So, I mean, with all of this, they say there's more than 400,000 children in the foster care system. And this article was from 2009. So, it's even more now. So I don't know. I'm thinking that you ladies are just ahead of the curve in your thinking and very mature about it, very realistic, and very much into making decisions in your own best interest. And I really appreciate you taking the time, to come here and share your thoughts with everybody. Let me ask you some of these questions that I have here. Let's talk about what you see as the pros and cons of being single and child free. So, we have to be consistent and positive journalists and present both sides of the coin. So what do you see as, maybe, I don't know, say 2 or 3 things on the pro side and 2 or 3 things that maybe, aren't so great, but you're willing to deal with them. Those are our cons. You want to go first, Shinwa?
Okay. So I could think of so many pros to being single and without children. Responsibility, I'm only responsible for myself. taking care of myself financially, medically, health-wise, feeding myself, housing myself, clothing myself. Just I'm solely responsible for myself. And so I'm secure enough and stable enough to support me. And that's how I set my life up. And that's how I plant my life, so that I'll be secure enough to be able to sustain my life and my lifestyle. So I can, at the drop of a dime, if tomorrow I decide I want to go fly to France, I can actually do that. If I decide I want to stay in bed and sleep to 4 p.m., I can do that. Some people say it's selfish. It will be selfish if I had people to care for, but I don't, besides my kitten. So those are pros. I'm only responsible for myself, and I can enjoy the things in life that I want. I can do the things that I want to do. I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't have to alter for anyone or check in with anyone or compromise with anyone. Everything is solely just about me, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's not hurting anyone.
Gotcha.
And I can't honestly think of any cons, because the cons that people will come up with is, well, what's going to happen when you get old? Just because I have kids don't mean when I get old they're going to take care of me anyway. So who's to say I'm going to be sick and disabled when I get older if I take care of myself now and do those preventative things? I can't honestly think of anything except um, I don't have a biological legacy of myself that I'm leaving behind. But in and of that, I instill things in my nieces and nephews and friends, children's and other kids. There's so many things in this world that I'm a part of, leaving a strong legacy behind with a lot of my activities and activisms. That a legacy, it doesn't have to be a child to be a legacy, because my whole life has been a legacy. The impact that I had for females in the military while I was in there, and believe me when I say I had a strong impact with things when it comes to sexual assault and victims in the military, I had a strong hand with that. Dealing with mothers in the military, breastfeeding and things like that. Believe me when I say I played a strong part. So I have left things behind. So I can't honestly think of a con on
Okay.
it.
Well, let's get Ginger's take on it. You have any pros or cons?
Say pros. Well, yeah, we are free. Whew. um, yeah, I think for me, from my personal experience being married, being by myself, I thrive by myself. I spent my 20s helping men, and my 30s has been about self-discovery. Like I probably would have never became a aerobics instructor if I hadn't had the time to be single and focus on myself. And like I was mentioning to Deb, that I'm learning golf this year, so I have time to focus on my hobbies. Um, pros. Yeah, pros, like, when I'm tired, I can go to bed. I don't have to have some man next to me wanting some kind of needs. I mean, I know that, because sometimes you ain't in the mood. You just want to go to sleep, ladies.
Exactly.
Okay. um, some cons. I say it does get lonely sometimes, but that Tuesday night advice column, letters that you read, snaps me out of it, because I'm thinking, oh God, I don't have to deal with that anymore. Listen to
Girl,
what these
ain't that
people
the
are going
truth?
through. I
Every
really,
time I finish that show, I'm sitting up there going, woo! I'm
yeah,
so glad that's not me.
that's like, whoo, snap. Ooh, okay, never mind. Um, I don't know if anybody's ever thought about this, but being because the profession I'm in, mostly women, and a lot of them are married, have children, or have boyfriends and children, something. And sometimes you have to be creative trying to connect with people, especially like coworkers, when you got to make that little small talk. Because
Hmm.
people leave with marriage and kids, so you have to kind of find some other common ground with people to connect with them. I
Right.
will say that. I mean, you don't have to be hiding how you feel about your lifestyle, like not wanting kids, not wanting marriage. But, most women are not comfortable hearing that. They get offended. For some reason, they take it personally. And so you do have to be a little creative about that.
Yeah, that's true. What about you, Chanel?
So my pros, my time is my own. My money is my own. the plans that I have for myself, I don't have to take anyone else into consideration. My plans do not negatively affect anyone. I love being able to get up and go without a doubt. The only thing that I have to think about is whether or not I want to take my dog or board my dog.
Oh,
I would
this
say the only con, um, you know, as I said earlier, I'm single, but I don't tend to get lonely because, like, I kind of value my personal time. And when I want to be social, I have a great group of supportive friends, family, women that I connect with. And again, because we are all kind of in the same situation, we're women of a certain age. And, we understand that going forward, our odds of having this long-term or even short-term relationships are slim to none. So we kind of depend on each other. We support one another. And, we just really make sure that we stand in the gap for one another. So I would say the biggest con is that, as a homeowner, every time I have to call a contractor over to my house, he's looking around for a man, and that of course creates an opportunity for them to try to slide on in there and with their dusty butts and try to piggyback off of what you have going on because they think that you're thirsty. So, that's a con. However, it's something that you can easily get by. You have to be very firm with men. I think most times they think that our no's are negotiable. So, once I tell them, I'm the one paying, so you have to deal with me, that kind of like straightens them up. But I think another con is people assuming that because you are single, you're lonely and they try to play you and then you have to check up, right? I think
right.
that's one of the biggest things that I have to do a lot is check people left and right because, they think that you're lonely. You're at this pick-me-sha stage. They believe that you have swallowed the lie of being a certain age and lonely and desperate. And so at that point, they want to try to, kick up dust around you. So, then you become known as a B and then nobody bothers you, which is another
That's
pro.
another
So,
pro.
you know, yeah.
Okay. It's so funny because I was in this, I've been experimenting with this clubhouse nonsense. And I think it was, what's today? It must have been yesterday. I was on there for a little while. And I was in this room where they were kind of talking about this subject. So I said, oh, let me get in there and see, what their perspectives are. And, full of dust buddies. And so this one, they were talking about, women having children and the guys who want a kid. And so I shared with them the story of this guy I was dating. And he's, trying to be slick because he had come to my house and seeing, this little condo out in the suburbs where all the white folks live. I mean, small 2 bedrooms, no big deal. But, if in my little patio all decorated with flowers and all this stuff. And I have my little carport with my space for 2 cars. And, it's in a nice school district and it's not too far from Bard. And, I mean, it's a cute little spot. So, just what you said, they start looking around. He looks around. So then the next question he asked me, so what would you do if you got pregnant? And honey, I was looking at something. I didn't even look up. I didn't miss a beat. I said, oh, honey, I would be at the abortion clinic so fast, it would make your head swim. And he was sputtering. He was so mad. And he's like, you would just kill my baby? I said, I sure would. It's like, I don't care about that. I'm not going to let anybody disturb what I got going. I have one kid here. That's it. That 1 bedroom was for me and one was for my daughter, and ain't no room for nobody else up in here. And so he was just he was so angry. He didn't talk to me for 3 days. I was like, and start talking to somebody else. So, I'm like, whatever. But, what you just said, that is just so true. They just see, either they see you as, like a victim of loneliness, someone that they can just use, or some way they're going to try to figure out some kind of way to get it in with you so they have access to what you got and mainly your money, your assets, so they want to have their hands in them. So I was like, oh no, this is not
I do
working.
have I do have one more thing to add to that. If
Okay.
you're going to be single, it's going to cost you more money. What do I mean? contractor, we can go back to that example. They're going to try to charge you more, take advantage of you because they feel like you don't, obviously I don't know about plumbing, right? And it's also true that if I had a man, maybe he doesn't know about plumbing either. But what I have learned about men is they respect other men in a way that they don't, most of them have that same level of respect for. So you're going to have to pay, more in contracting. You're going to have to pay more when it comes to people feeling like, I've gotten the look, what's wrong with her, right? Like there must be something wrong with you that you have not gotten chosen for marriage. So, I also think
Right.
that's a con, but I think that's more so people's attitudes that need an adjustment versus, me having to change my life to fit into a lifestyle that society says is ideal, right, for people. So I just wanted to add that in there, and make sure you have a strong savings behaviors, do all the things that you want to do, say for your travel or your taekwondo, or, taking your language and pursuing all of those things that you want to do. But make sure you pad that savings account because you will need your money.
Right. And I think it's important to note too, and a lot of people say things like, you won't have anybody to take care of you when you're old. One thing they don't realize is, statistically, a lot of husbands leave their wives if they get sick. They don't stick around, so you can't depend on that. And if you have children, I worked for Adult Protective Services for a while. I couldn't take it. I had to leave because I had just never seen so many trifling children in my life. They would sell their parents' houses right up from under them, disappear to other countries, take all their money, their jewelry, their stocks, bonds, investments. I mean, their social security checks, all kinds of stuff. Leave these people destitute. And I saw this over and over and over and over. And we would get like 40, 50 cases. This is just in one city, 40, 50 cases a day of seniors being mistreated, a lot of financial abuse and a lot of physical abuse. So, they move them in their friends into the house and they use up the seniors' resources and they don't pay anything. Just all kind of just trifling stuff. So that to me, it just seemed like there's no guarantee. And if a woman is smart, she's going to put things in place where she can just take care of herself. And maybe, like you said, move in like two or three single ladies move in together, and help support each other, something like that. But you cannot depend on kids or a husband necessarily. Oh, honey, Tara, you just don't know. The triflingness was unbelievable, off the charts. So you guys, let's see. I want to start getting you some questions from the viewers. If you have a question for the panel, please put it in the chat stream and I will read it to them. If it's for a particular person, please, do the @ sign so that you say their name so we know who it's for. But other than that, start putting your questions in. So I told them they weren't going to have to be here all day. So we want to get your questions answered and let them go on and enjoy the rest of their evening. Okay. We're talking about Black women being single and unmarried and choosing that option, not, just not being chosen by a man or something like they think is some great privilege. We're talking about women who say, that's not what I want to do. That's not for me. Okay, someone asked, do any of you panelists date outside of your race? And you guys can all unmute your mic so you can just all, talk popcorn style so we can get through these questions.
Yes,
I am
I
definitely.
have.
You do?
You go ahead, Ginger.
Oh, no, that's all I was going to say. Yeah, I have. I have. I don't have any problem dating outside my race.
Yeah, same for me. If Mr. Right is purple, I'm going for him.
Okay. What about you, Shinwa?
I have, and I was in a unique situation being in the military. I spent the last 10 years of my career overseas. So it wasn't like there was an abundance of Black males, and then the pool was small too. But I had to learn to open up and date outside of my race because unfortunately, in the military and where I was at, the Black men did not date Black women. They preferred everything but Black women. And so it was kind of disheartening. So either you didn't date or you had to open up to dating other races. And so you got to do what you got to do.
Wow. Okay. Ask, how soon did any of you know that you didn't want to be mothers? She said she's known since she was 7.
I've known for a long time. As I said, I'm the oldest of, I have 2 younger sisters, and I feel like I started being a mother like too young. And I know, a lot of older siblings are tasked with, caring for their younger siblings, but I just felt like this is not what I want to do. I knew as a kid, I didn't even really like kids like that. So where some people are just so
Girl.
filled with, these motherly feelings, all I saw was this is a job. And as I said, I do believe that being a child and knowing that you were unwanted, or, I knew that I was a burden to my mother. It also made me, I guess, consider motherhood from another perspective, just the responsibility that came along with it. And all I was struggling to take care of myself. So I, didn't really believe that. I just knew about all of the resources that it would take to take care of a child. So I said, you know what? It's probably not for me.
Ginger, a question is directed at you. It says, do you find that your coworkers make judgments that you are single, childless, and happy?
Hmm. Probably so. In my early 30s, I'm working with a different group of people now. Um, people think, especially in the 30s, people think that your life is so sad because you're not married and have kids. Like you must sit at home and just cry or something. I don't know what they're visualizing, but I definitely, I definitely picked up on that in my 30s with the people, because most people I worked with were married or wanted to be married and had kids. I think now is probably it's just different. People just don't understand. They just think all women want that same thing. And so they just don't understand you as a woman without, a man and some children. They just don't know what to think about that.
Yeah. I find men really struggle with that because they see, like, you know, women just aren't bothered with you,
Yeah.
about you, don't care about you, don't want
Hmm.
you, ain't considering you, your needs, your likes, your wants, your preferences,
Hmm.
nothing. You're
Hmm.
like
And they're
a
not used to that.
non-factor in so many
Hmm.
women's lives, and their
Hmm.
egos can't take it. So they
Hmm.
want to feel like, there's something wrong with you
Hmm.
for that. You can't just be making this choice and be absolutely happy. You
Hmm.
there's something wrong, and you're lying to yourself that you want
Hmm.
to be single. And so I find that more criticism comes from men.
Mm.
That's with me than it does with women. The women be like, well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't what I wanted, but girl, yeah, I understand because these kids get on my nerves. But the guys, they just feel, they take it so personally, like it's a personal
Hmm.
attack that that you
Hmm.
don't want to be bothered with a man. Right? I see you over there, Chanel, laughing.
You know what it is? Because a man is work. That's why, right? I mean, it's almost, I've heard so many moms and or even women who, have husbands say that having a husband is like having another child. And, even in dating, I find that men have certain expectations of women. Now, they may not even be living up to your expectations, but because they have been modeled that a woman is going to be here to serve you, and you don't have to put any level of effort into it whatsoever, they have this level of expectation for you and then tell you, oh, you should be more feminine. Nigga, what do you bring to the table? Sorry about that, Miss
Exactly.
Dad.
Nigga.
But you understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying. It
Girl,
just
I
it blows
know.
my mind.
Yeah,
And
that they had a nerve to fix their lips.
what I
They don't
What are
have
you
experienced,
talking about?
anything.
I experienced that on an even stronger level because I was in such a male dominated career field for over 20 years.
Right.
And the higher up in rank I got, which was odd for being a female in my career field to begin with, and at such a young age, it was like the men were felt personally attacked by that because I should be married and have kids. Um, and whenever we would have to deploy, it was like, do you have Tylenol? Do you have lotion? They would still treat me as if I was a supplement of their spouse or whatever because I was the female on the team. We had a leadership training that I had to do when I was at my highest rank. And no matter what rank I was, these males, they always talk about their wives at work. They tell everything and they complain about their wives and their kids and they make jokes and they talk about them like they're so bad. I go to work to get away from my wife and my kids, and I hate my wife and I hate my kids. I mean, I'm hearing this every day, and they talk so bad
Mhm.
about their wives. They will
Mhm.
tell men at work, I know somebody's wife has hair on her nipples. Why I need to know that? Why you telling your coworkers your wife got hair on her nipples? So
Mhm.
this is what men do, and I was with them for over 20 years at work.
Mhm.
So, and then
Mhm.
in this leadership training, when we were introducing ourselves, a classroom of like 12 or so, and it was only a couple of us girls, two to be exact. And as they all of them were married, as they complaining about their wives and their kids, when I introduced myself, I was like, I don't have the disease of a spouse or children. Boy, they all those males got so mad. When I say mad, they got so mad. And from that day forward, they judged me on it, and they gave me the hardest critiques because of that. They were offended by it. But you got up and said you hate your wife, you hate your kids, you glad you're here for 2 months so you can be away from them and all of this. But it was okay. But because I said that, it was like a personal attack. And I was like, man, I was just
Exactly.
Mhm.
joking. So
Mhm.
Susu has a question for both of you, and I guess Ginger when she comes back. Do you ever hear from other mothers that they dislike motherhood and or marriage?
So, the Christmas that I went home, the one aunt who asked me, "Well, do you ever plan to have kids?" Right? My other aunt was there too, and she said, "Hell, well, I would never have kids had I known what I know now." Right? And I was so grateful for her in that moment because, you know, um, I think a lot of women are afraid to really be honest about motherhood, the things that they've seen their mothers, grandmothers go through, right? Because they feel like they're going to be shamed publicly, right? Which is why I'm so vocal about my choices while still respecting the choices of others. But it just made me feel I felt really seen when my aunt just spoke her truth, right? I feel like it added balance. To the discussion that we were having. I also wanted to go back to something that Shanoa was saying. I'm in IT. I work in a male dominated field. These men, yes, they are married, but they don't have pictures of their wives up. Some of them may have pictures of their children up. They do talk about their spouses. Not only do they talk about their spouses in a negative light, but they're also going to hit on you, hoping that they can get a little side thing going with you while you're at work because you are the woman there. You're bringing that feminine energy. I have also had the experience where they kind of feel like, they're kind of caring for you because you're a woman, especially if you're a younger woman. They are doing those things, but it's all in hopes that, they can slide in and get some of your time versus just them really, wanting to care for you. It's all very calculated, the way that these guys roll. But that's another thing that lets me know, I mean, some marriages are great, but most are a sham.
Yeah.
While you're at home, taking care of the kids, doing all the housework, being his maid, his mother, all of these roles and hats that women play, and you may have a full-time job. Your man is at work hitting on me, and if he runs into a woman like me who feels disrespected by married men hitting on her, then you could keep your marriage that day, right? But not all women feel like that, right? And they're going to take whatever your man is offering him just
mhm,
because, they don't have anything to lose.
yeah.
We got another question here. Says, have you found a difference from behavior towards you between Black women versus non Black women?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, like I said, I spent the last 10 years of my career overseas. Um, and I noticed that women, regardless, are surprised. What? You're single? You have no kids? I travel by myself. What? You travel by yourself? You go to the movies by yourself? You do all this by yourself? I'm like, well, yeah. Okay. So other women, other raced women, they're like astounded by. They're like, wow, I wish I could do that. Wow, that's amazing. They're like, man, you're so brave. So they see it and they see it like, man, that's something that can be done. Never thought of it. But I
Yeah.
noticed with Black women, oh, it must be nice to be able to do that. Oh, it must be nice that you don't have kids you got to go to school and deal with. Oh, it must be nice. And I'm like, wow, just
Sisters got the attitude about it. I don't
it's
get
Really?
it.
and
Yes, it's like
it's
rather than be proud of your sister that she's doing some things that you may not have had the opportunity to do, you giving her all kind of attitude. And
yes,
it's
and it's
not all of us. Some of us are very loving and supportive toward one another, but sometimes it's like, oh,
it's that whole
uh-huh,
misery love company. Like
And crabs in a
want
barrel.
they want
mm-hmm,
you to be miserable with them,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because it's it's just, I guess for them they figure, what's so special about you that you don't have to deal with these issues, and I have to deal with them, because I have people in my life who have said to me, I really hate my child. I can't
mm,
stand my child. They get on
They
my
said that?
nerves. Yes. I wish I never had this child. And I understand the frustration behind it, but I've had people in my life say those things to me. And so I see it. So it's but I can honestly say the reason why they had those frustrations was because of their choices they made, the choice in who they chose to have that child with. Now, this fool had 3 other kids with 3 other women and wasn't taking care of them. What makes you
mm-hmm,
think he was going to take care of the one you had? He didn't have
mm-hmm,
a job when
mm-hmm,
you got with him.
mm-hmm,
What makes you think he's going to suddenly get a job now? or
mm-hmm,
or you didn't really discipline your child, or raise them with standards. You just kind of was lazy with it because it was too
mm-hmm,
much for you to do. So now this child is out of control, so you stressed
mm-hmm,
out by them. So
mm-hmm,
everything basically is a accumulation of the choices that they made, regardless of
mm-hmm,
how they view it. It's all because of the choices that they made, but they don't want to
mm-hmm,
see it and take accountability and responsibility for it.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
children don't need to be raised in that type of environment, because that child can sense that energy about, oh, I don't like you, I can't stand you. They can
mm-hmm,
feel that.
mm-hmm.
On
Mm,
the
and you
channel, I
know
have
what?
a video called When Women Find Out That Motherhood Ain't All That.
Mhm,
And it's one of the most popular videos on the channel. But,
mhm,
it's that same kind of thing, just kind of laying it out there. It's cute. I mean, it's, you romanticize it and, oh, it's kicking and, all this old stuff. But, once they get here and don't have like problems where you have, issues with your health or some kind of crisis and emergency and stuff like maternal crisis during the birth, so many women die. People don't even consider that part, how many women
mhm,
die having babies.
mhm,
Even here
mhm,
in the United States, supposed to be one of the like leaders in healthcare
mhm,
worldwide, women dying,
mhm.
like hundreds and hundreds per year when we should have
Especially
like
Black
maybe
women.
two.
Especially Black women.
Mhm,
Black women
mhm,
Especially
in the
Black women,
United
right?
States having babies, we're better off going to a third world country. If we went to the forests in the Amazons, we have a 100% chance of giving birth and the mom and the baby living than giving birth in the United States in one of these hospitals.
mhm.
And that is a fact. It's
That's
worse
right.
than a third world country for Black women and
Mhm,
Black babies.
mhm, mhm.
I'm looking for this question. I accidentally scrolled past it. A guy asked a question. Uh, well, shoot, I don't know what happened to it. People was firing questions so fast, and the screen was rolling so hard. I was like, oh. Well, you guys, we have time for a couple of more questions. Here's one for you. wants to know, do you believe that life experience have shaped your current belief regarding marriage and children? If you had a different experience or the opposite experience, would you still have the same belief? What do you think?
My life experiences have definitely shaped it. Like I said, as a early child, I was forced to help take care of and raise my eldest niece and nephew. So that put a very bitter spirit in me about children, and I'm resenting children. I got over it in my 20s, but that did that. Plus, seeing how my parents' marriage, their failure, and how they didn't really raise their kids. We grew up, so experiencing all of these different things and just seeing the world, it made me, it shaped everything for me. If I can't give my family, my children, my husband, me as a wife, the type of lifestyle that I believe that we are supposed to have, where we are living and not just surviving, I won't do it to us. And I am
Mhm.
responsible for that. I can control that. I can control if I
Mhm.
have children or not. So if I
Mhm.
can't give that, I won't bring children into a mess.
What do you say, Ginger?
Let's see, marriage. Well, when I got married both times, I didn't have any standards. Um, so now, of course, I do have standards, is why I'm not married. Well, I have not gotten married. And so that definitely did shape my viewpoint towards marriage, or not to get married now, because I didn't see any benefit for me when I was married. I was working harder, I was helping other people. So I can't see any benefit for marriage from my experience. Um, and children, people want you to have children, but where's this joy? I mean, I'm sure some people, of course, are happy with the children they have, but I think a lot of people are not.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, judging by those people that was driving in to deposit all their kids.
hmm
Mhm.
So
I
what do you
think
say?
everyone is shaped and molded by their experiences. And I think, that's just how life works, right? You should learn from your experiences. But I find that even women who have the opposite of my experiences, maybe they came from um two parent houses where there was love, like versus me coming from a two parent house where my parents argue every day. I didn't understand why they ever got married in the first place. But, women who have my experiences and those who have the ideal experience of growing up in a two parent loving household and stuff like that, none of these women are coupled up. And I think it's just because just the partners aren't out there. Women are trained a certain way.
Hmm.
And we are told, a way in which we should go. And by the time we get there, there are really no marriageable partners that are out there. And if there are, they're just not enough for all of the women who are, looking for this same thing. I really believe that the numbers are not really in our favor. And again, I don't think this is just Black women. I think this is a much broader thing worldwide for women in general.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's I'm not really sure what's going on and why men aren't really men anymore. When I was in Clubhouse, I was trying to explain to those guys, that, we're looking, you need that kind of strong energy to balance you out. It's like women aren't attracted to weakness.
Hmm.
It doesn't excite us. It doesn't make you want to throw yourself on this guy and just absorb his energy, whether you're married to him or not. It doesn't, it's just not there. It's not
Hmm.
stimulating. And
Hmm.
so, they really didn't get it. I guess they just felt like if they liked you and, they were a quote nice guy, that you should like them back. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You have that soft, weak energy. A woman who's accomplished and educated, I mean, all of you ladies have dreams and you made them happen. You have education, you have, things that you've done with yourself. You are all confident women. And if you have that going on, you're not going to be drawn to a man who's nervous and jealous and insecure and timid and all those kind of things. It's not going to happen. And they just couldn't understand it. But I'm a good man. Yeah, but you're weak.
By whose
Nobody,
standards,
nobody wants
sir?
you.
That's what I want to know. Who told you you were a good man?
Girl, they
I
be
had to tell
dreaming.
this one guy, Miss Deborah. I had to tell this one guy. I say, you don't even realize, like, you're bragging about the fact that you've been with all of these women and you've had relationships for 2 years. But based on my experience with you, these women settle because I don't see what they saw in you. And I think women have to be just that straightforward with these men because, so many of us are afraid to be alone. We just say, I'm going to work with this. And I'm saying that as someone who has been guilty in the past of that myself. And just, you say, well, this may work out. I'm going to see where it goes. It goes nowhere, not ever. And they begin to resent you because of the things that you have going on and the fact that you don't really need them. Like you can make space in your life for a person, but they want you to be really needy, right? And they don't even understand that the needs that you have that you can provide for yourself, they can't come to the table with.
Well, statistically, this article is a couple of years old, but I remember back in 2019 when this kind of stuff was flying around the internet and was being discussed on all the talk shows and everything. This title of this article is "Women Are Happier Without Children or a Spouse," says happiness expert. And this was a scientist out of, I think he was out of Australia, if I remember. Oh, no, London. Excuse me. London School of Economics. And he said that the latest evidence showed the traditional markers used to measure success did not correlate with happiness, particularly marriage and raising children. And he says, we do have some good longitudinal data following the same people over time, but I'm going to do a massive disservice to that science and just say this. If you're a man, you should probably get married. If you're a woman, don't bother. Okay. And this is from a London professor. So, he did this over, several decades of research following the same people. So I was like, wow. So, they always asking you for stats and studies. And all of you look like you have some pretty bright smiles to me. I don't see nobody here looking sad and depressed.
No, like I said, we free.
They don't understand it. They just don't understand how you cannot have these things, which they are used to, being the pinnacle of womanhood. And it just doesn't make sense. You don't have it. So you should be down and depressed and you should accept my whatever it is that I give you. I don't get it. And they don't get it either. And that's why we have to part ways.
Yeah. So you ladies have any closing comments that you want to make before I let you go?
For me, ladies, stay strong in your convictions. I know sometimes, if you feel that level of pressure, just remember what you want, where you want to be, and just don't allow some man to come in and make decisions on your behalf. Always be in control of your life and understand that, there's so much that this world has to offer. There's so much that you can get into. There's so many ways that you can stretch yourself and grow throughout your lifetime. Take advantage of that and just make sure that choices are not being made for you.
Okay, Shanoa?
What I have to say is, ladies, know what it is.
Speak up a little louder.
What I have to say is, know what you want. Be strong in what it is that you want and have standards, and don't settle for anything less. Know what you want, have your standards, don't settle for it, and learn yourself so that you can be comfortable with yourself. When you're comfortable with yourself and alone, you will never be lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautiful. What about you, Ginger?
Well, for any women thinking of getting married, especially young women, don't marry a setback man. Don't marry a man that's going to be dead weight in your life. I would say don't look for a man or husband on dating apps. Okay. Seriously, don't do it. I've been there. So second husband came from a dating app, but I have no happy stories to tell you. I have some scary stories to tell you from dating apps. So there's no good stories from that.
We'll have to do another show.
American Horror Story. I would say love yourself more. Even if you get married, I would say don't go into it giving your everything. Men don't respect that. I had my second husband set me up with that one. He asked me, do you love me more or yourself? I foolishly said I love you more. He said, oh, I love myself more. See,
Wow.
so yeah, they don't respect that, and have boundaries,
That's
standards.
interesting.
Um, and last I wrote, if you can't find any of that, just stay single. I mean, if you want a baby, you can have a baby by yourself. Otherwise, I
Mhm.
just would not get married if you can't find what you want.
Yeah. Settling, that's a big problem. That is a huge problem.
Mhm.
And I
Don't
think, you know,
settle.
you guys seen the Dusty News Network shows we do on Friday nights in the summertime?
Mhm.
That's the
Mhm.
key. They're trying to get Black, especially Black women, is like this concentrated effort of manipulation through every kind of avenue to get Black women to settle for what
Mhm.
they want you to have. And it's just really depressing. So I really appreciate all of you, you know, reiterating that and reinforcing that belief that you got to love yourself and you have to hold your standards.
Mhm.
See, they already talking about they want another show. You guys were fabulous. I'm so happy you all responded. Absolutely fabulous guests. And everybody cute too.
And stress free.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah,
honey.
woo!
Mhm. Mhm.
Enjoying
Three
our
snaps
wine
and
and
Z formation.
Miss Deb, I can't wait to come to California for one of your meetups.
Yeah, as soon as COVID lets me do it, because the place, you know, they came back with this new strain, but I canceled
Yeah.
that because I wanted to have it, you know, this
Yeah.
past Sunday. Last Sunday was for my birthday.
Yeah.
And they were like,
Happy
nope, we're
belated.
not doing any events. So I'm like,
Happy
okay, well, I
belated.
guess we're gonna have
Yeah.
another year. It's the second year already
Yeah.
that I had to cancel again. So I'm not really happy all about that. But thanks, you guys. I'm gonna finish
Thank
up the
you.
show. Thank you very much. All right,
Thanks,
okay.
ladies.
everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to um you know, just kind of finish this up. I appreciate everybody coming through, and it's really great that you asked some really good questions for the ladies here. I want to talk about. I want to kind of go over a couple of more of these letters of people who openly admitted that they regret having children, and I think if more women were honest um, with themselves, they would realize that they made a horrible, horrible mistake. And I think, you know, I know a lot of people get on my case because they're like, well, you know, you promote abortion. Damn Skippy. Some people say, well, you know, you should be pro life. I'm not pro life, I'm pro abortion. And I don't have any problem telling people that. Why? Because my mom, after we all moved out, you know, she did close up her daycare business after 25 years. And then, you know, we had this big old house. It was empty. All of us moved out. So all of our bedrooms and the extra, she had 4 extra bedrooms in the house. We had a converted Victorian. It was huge, 10 rooms. So she got a license for foster care. So she had these little foster kids there. And the sad stories, the pain and drama that those children were put through by parents who should not have had them, it was just heartbreaking. And this, you know, she was like a respite care. So they would bring them there to her in an emergency. And then they would stay, you know, a week or two. And then they would put them in a permanent placement. And then after that, she started doing some permanent placement. And so she had, you know, same kids for a couple of years. But I, you know, getting to see all those children's stories and hear about the abuse that they suffered, the neglect, and you know just some of the kids were just so small for their size because they didn't get proper nutrition. They just were ignored. They skipped all kinds of meals. They had no medical treatment. All of this because their parents were bums and they thought about themselves. Well, you know, I can't do that to my baby. And it's not about you, it's about the kid. But these are people who made that mistake and then they regret it. This is a short one. She says, the older I get, the more I realize I hate children. I'm a guy. I'll be 40 in October, and I've come to the realization that I hate kids. They annoy the shit out of me. 90% of them are spoiled rotten, and the parents don't care. The noise and entitlement drive me up a wall. Even my niece, as she gets older, is turning into a spoiled little shit. My wife and I can't have kids. We got a dog about 3 months ago. I had to start walking him while the crotch goblins are in school or after dark. Why? These little turds will walk up and try to pet him without even asking. He's very skittish and doesn't like strangers, but he's a small dog and non-aggressive, so they think that makes it okay. If he snaps and bites them, then it's going to be my fault. But if I say no or ignore them, then I'm the asshole. And then he said a bunch of profane things. I'll leave that part out. Um, This girl is living with her boyfriend, which, the thing we were talking about in the What the Fuck Tuesday column, dating a man with children. She says, my soon to be ex-boyfriend's kids are in my house and they act entitled to everything that's mine. My phone is theirs. My work laptop is theirs because their parents don't parent them. These horribly behaved children cannot sleep with some sort of screen. And my soon to be ex thinks it's okay to give them my work laptop while they're in bed. It's covered with jelly and chocolate blasting YouTube. And yet the 2-year-old still comes into the bedroom demanding my other work laptop and my phone. I told him no, and he threw a tantrum, wouldn't leave the room. Instead of being disciplined, my boyfriend thinks it's harmless and no big deal. I've been babysitting them, their ages 2 and 10, for 3 days while he plays his Xbox. The older one follows me around telling me my job isn't good enough, that her room in my house isn't good enough, that I work too much, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. She had a teddy bear since she was a kid and she sleeps with it every night. The 2-year-old took it and she took it back and then all hell broke loose. My boyfriend said I have to give it to him and I refused. I told him I had been parenting his kids the whole time and they need to learn they can't have everything they want, cannot take other people's things. He called me a selfish bitch and threw my teddy at me. I do not like kids, especially bad behaved ones. They think they can do what they want. And so that's her. This woman said she got married 5 years ago and she was 31, her best friend and soulmate. That's who she thinks he is. And 3 months after we got married, my Depo-Provera shot failed and I found out I was pregnant. My initial reaction was straight up anxiety and fear, not joy. We decided to keep the baby since we were married and stable and had good careers, graduate degrees, and owned our home. And we figured we were as good a chance as any to raise a child. My son was immediately the toughest damn baby on the planet. Cried constantly, even when he was changed, fed, and rested. Never slept more than 2 hours in a stretch until he was a year old. Struggled to eat and gain weight. Constantly needs to be held, but only allow you to do it standing and with your arms. No slings, carriers, arms. So she thought she had no sleep. And then he was diagnosed with severe autism when he was 18 months old. I mean, she just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's just horrible. So these are all things, that people have to think about. Because, you dream of having this perfect little baby. But, a lot of people are having children that have special needs these days. Are you prepared to take on that burden? So all in all, there's a lot to think about. And I don't have any problem with a woman deciding that risk is too great. I wish, more of you would really give this some serious consideration before you think that you automatically need to run out here and get married and have a kid. Really think about what benefits it's going to bring to your life, if any, and what resources you have internally as well as financial to provide a child with a solid, sane existence and home. So I'm glad we did this chat. I really want to thank my guests again for volunteering their time to talk with you. Thank you guys for your questions and for your super chat donations. I got to thank my girl, Lady Boss, because she's always here holding everything down. So you guys be sure to come through on Tuesday. If you're not already a subscriber to this channel, please hit that subscription button and the instant notification bell. We're going to be doing another show next Sunday on polyamorous relationships. I'm still looking for guests for that. So if you live that lifestyle or you know someone who does, you have some knowledge about it, please hit me up on survivingdating@gmail.com and let me know that you'd be willing to appear as a guest. I'll be willing to do just audio for that show, though, because I know a lot of people might not want to show their face. So you guys, thank you very much. Come through Tuesday for What the Fuck Tuesday. If you have an advice question that you want to submit for the show, it's probably not too late. Use the link that you will find in the show description down below to complete the form and then press the send button and we'll add your question to the show if we can fit it in. All right. Thanks you guys so much for watching. Go out and enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.